Hey everyone, good morning. How are you? Well, it's morning for me. It may not be morning for you. I know a lot of people watch from around the world, but it is a beautiful Saturday morning for me. Really hope that you're doing well in your part of the world. I'm really happy that you're here joining me. I'm seeing quite a few people in the chat. I am streaming right now on three platforms simultaneously. I am streaming on X, on YouTube, and on Instagram. So really happy that you're spending some time with me today. I'm seeing, if you see my eyes go to my screen here, it's because I'm looking for the different comments or the different locations I have to look at because I am streaming across multiple platforms. I'm already seeing some comments on my Instagram feed. So bear with me on that. If you're on X or on YouTube, you can also type in your comments and I will be able to display them on the screen because that way the people across different platforms can see each other's questions. So please don't be shy. Go ahead and drop a comment. And really just glad that you're here. So to introduce myself, my name is Dennis, and I run Data Science with Dennis. I am a chief data scientist. I've had more than 20 years of experience working in the field. I've worked for companies all around the world. I've worked for Citi, Caesars Entertainment, IBM, and Ticketmaster, a bunch of other companies. But really, the reason I do this is because data science is my passion, and I just want to share that with other people. And social media is a great way to do that. Obviously, I make a lot of videos and a lot of content, but I do these live sessions to help interact a little bit more with you guys, and just to have a little bit more fun and get to know you more, and have you get to know me more. And also, there's no reason why data science can't be like a social activity, and kind of build a community around it. Because I have found in my experience that the more you kick around ideas, the more you look at other data scientists' work, the more you generate ideas for your own work, right? Because as a scientist, we should always be open to different perspectives, different ideas, right? So I want to make sure that we're doing that. So again, thank you for being with me. I'm seeing a small group of people on X and YouTube, and I'm seeing about 10 people or so on Instagram. So let me scroll over to my Instagram. It looks like I'm getting some comments already right from the beginning. So let me start. I want to take these in order if you guys don't mind. All right. So our first comment comes from Instagram side. And remember, if you're on X or YouTube, feel free to also put comments. 6 Feet Underground says, I am preparing for a business development internship. How should I prepare for the interview? Okay, that's a very broad question. And I think my main question would be, how long is the internship? Um, I have had interns in the past, mostly summer interns. And when I get summer interns, I get them for 10 weeks. And that's a very, very short time. So depending on how long the internship is, I think dictates how much they're going to expect from you. If it's a short internship, like a summer internship or during one of your breaks, then unfortunately, there's really not a lot to do to prepare, because there's really not a lot they're looking for, right? They're not going to put you to work on some extensive project if it's a short internship, which also means that the selection process can be a little bit more variable, because they could basically just hire anybody, right? They really don't have any specific requirements when they're only going to take you for 10 weeks and not really train you. So it depends on how long the internship is, and it also depends on the business that you're talking about, because you mentioned business development, but that could be for any number of industries. So it depends on the industry. So what I will tell you is this, though. I've had many interns throughout the years, and I've done many interviews for other people. If other people kind of send me their intern applicants to interview also. The number one thing managers are looking for, the number one thing they ask me is this person coachable? That's what they really want to know. They want to know, can I coach this person? Because, you're an intern, you're there for a very short time. The manager's busy. They've got other things going on. They don't want you to be a headache. They don't want you to, kind of uh, be somebody who can't learn. So that's really, if I was in your position, 6 feet underground, I would say, how can I display that I'm coachable? So that's what I would do in your interview. Ask a lot of questions, be enthusiastic, be happy to be there, and just show that, hey, I'm just here to learn. I'm just here to learn from you guys. I'm a student. I want to grow into a career. I want to learn what you guys do, right? So that's the best advice I would give you. It's not technical advice. It's not about the classes you took. It's not about talking about your extracurricular activities. It's about talking about you being coachable, and you saying, hey, I'm a student, but I'm enthusiastic. I want to learn. I'm a sponge. I'm going to listen. If you tell me to do something, I'm going to do it. Show that you're coachable. I think that's the number one thing that can help you for this type of interview. So good luck with that. Let me know how it goes. All right. So next question, also from Instagram, comes from Himsteak. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing these names. Hey, I just graduated with my PhD in physics and I've been applying for data science jobs. I don't have the X years of work experience, but I have the skills. Any advice for a career trajectory? Yeah, that's a tough one. I'm gonna challenge you here a little bit. You say, but I have the skills. How do I know that? Um, I think, in my experience from what I've seen, it's become a little bit less fashionable to hire PhDs in data science. Maybe even as recently as like 5 to 7 years ago, people would love hiring the PhDs in physics, PhDs in math, things like that, until people started finding out that that really wasn't necessary to be a good data scientist. There's plenty of non-PhDs out there that are very good data scientists. And especially now, you have some really good degree programs at the bachelor level, at the undergrad level, that are producing some very, very good data scientists, right? So to be frankly honest with you, I think that the PhD in physics might actually be working against you a little bit, um, especially if you have 0 years of experience. Because if you do have the PhDs in math and physics, you can get hired, excuse me, and with experience, you can get hired by the big guys, right? Like the Googles, the OpenAIs, very big items, but they're going to want published research and years of experience, things like that. But if you're going for the zero experience jobs, you're going to be competing against undergrads who have very legitimate data science degrees and probably want half the money that you do. So I actually think that the PhD in physics might be working against you here. But let's put that aside, right? Because your core question about how do I gain that experience is going to apply to a lot of people, right? So for that, I would say start writing. That's what I did. Because I made the move into data science a while back from a programming background, and the best way to prove it that this stuff is to prove it to yourself and then publish it. So I actually started my own blog many years ago, where I started writing my own articles about data science, and it didn't get a very big audience, but it gave me one, it proved it to myself, and two, it gave me a portfolio to show, to say, hey, this isn't just a school project. I published this, and this is out there right now. So that's what I would suggest to you, to go ahead and start doing your own publishing, your own proof of concept of those skills. And it doesn't have to be anything, overly fancy. I used to make it so that I was publishing every single week. So I would try to write 2 articles ahead of time, and I would write every week. And even just do like straightforward things, like I remember at the particular time when I was writing, I found this like online lottery contest. And what I did was I went and I got the rules, like the terms and conditions, of that contest, and I took it apart from a statistics perspective. Like, here's the odds of winning, here's the odds of winning the top prize, here's the odds of winning the second prize, third prize, and just kind of like tore apart this this lottery that was being run online. And like that became an article, right? And I published that. So I would do different things like that, show that you can do the work, get out there and publish. And plus, it's good to kind of get yourself into that habit of publishing and explaining your work, because you're going to have to do that in any job, right? So good luck with that. If you want some mock interviews, I offer mock interviews as a service. Also, you can find that on my Instagram. But you got to stay positive during the job search. So start publishing, start showing yourself that you can do it, and good things will come. All right. All right, so I'm showing still some really good attendance on the X on the YouTube side. Feel free to send me some comments on that. I'd love to put those comments up on the screen. But I got a couple more on Instagram, so let's keep on going on Instagram. Um, our next comment is from Ratchet. Hey, Ratchet, good morning. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you being here. Um, hey, I just completed my undergrad in stats. Congratulations, Ratchet. And I want to pursue natural language processing. Can you suggest a path for this? Um, why? Why natural language processing? I'm curious. Would love to hear more about that. Um, but it sounds like you already know stats, and it sounds like you already know you want to do NLP. Um, so, can I suggest a path for this? The first thing that I would do if I was in that position is I would start doing it. And my suggestion to you would be to start learning Keras. Keras is a great neural network framework, and just that's your learning path. Learn how to do NLP with Keras. And the reason I say that is because you'll learn the framework, you'll learn Keras, and Keras is a great community, by the way. I'm also active on their email list. So Keras has a great community attached with it. And you'll also learn, you're very likely to learn a lot more about LSTM neural networks. And it's really hard to do NLP without knowing LSTM neural networks, right? So that's the learning path that I would suggest. And then that should help you carry into more practical work later on. If you have any more questions on that, feel free to type it in again in the chat. Happy to help you. But good luck with that path. All right, next one. Oh my gosh, this name is going to be a little bit harder. It's Sanghamitra. It's Sanghamitra. I'm terrible with names. I apologize if that came out wrong. But they write, I am trying to switch into data science from data analysis. Please share the roadmap and interview preparation details. So for somebody like you that's making the move, I still recommend my guide for data science students. That's on my YouTube channel. It's a 20-minute video where I talk about the different sides of the learning that you're going to need to make a data science career. So briefly, there's going to be the things that you learn academically, and there's going to be the things that you learn on the job. Academically, you want to focus on data science and on programming, right? You got to have both sides when you're in school. You got to know what you're doing as far as data science theories and concepts and things like that. And then you got to know how to program it. I recommend Python. You can certainly learn R. A lot of academic classes are in R. That's okay. But you eventually want to land on Python. So that gets you out of school. That gets you out of the academic stuff. And then on the job stuff, you're going to learn how to actually work with data. You're going to learn how to work with data science, which means working with stakeholders, working with model development, and then working with model deployment. Like how do you actually connect your model to a full app, right? Very, very few academic classes go over that. In fact, I don't know of any that teach that, right? So those are the types of things you're going to have to learn on the job. So that's what I would recommend. Look at the data science guide that I have online. Think about where you are in that journey. Do you need to go back to school? Do you need to sharpen up your Python? Do you need to kind of just work more on deploying models and even developing UIs? Sometimes we as data scientists end up developing UIs. So that's going to be another important skill, right? And then kind of go from there. And then as I mentioned before, I also offer a mock interview service. I will run you through a complete mock interview. I will give you feedback during the interview. I send you a write-up afterwards. I can also help you with your LinkedIn, but we can kind of go over those things and kind of help you shape your answers and kind of figure out where you're at in terms of the data science positions and the level that you want to apply for. So I hope that helped. If it didn't, feel free to add more comments in the Instagram side, and I'll do my best to help. Hey, all right. Look, we got a comment from YouTube. So if you're on Instagram, I'm still going to come to those questions. I see I have a couple more comments on Instagram. I'm going to get back to them. Let's switch some gears here and let's look at our friends from YouTube. YouTube also has their ability to add some comments. So let's look at our first one here. Ekra Liam Ekra. Hello, I am in my last semester, bachelor degree in data science. Congratulations. I'm still not sure if I want to pursue a master's degree or start working and getting more experience in the field. And then as a follow-up, he writes, knowing I already have a bachelor's degree in applied maths. Okay, so this looks like a second bachelor's degree for our friend from YouTube. All right, so that's a very good question. And that has so many different ways for me to answer it. I got to tell you, I'm having trouble with this because personally, I believe that the decision to pursue a master's degree is a very personal one because it speaks to your own ambitions, your own finances. Maybe there's other reasons why you'd want to work. Whether you have like aging parents or your own health or whatever you want to do. You want to stay in school for the mental health aspects. There's to me, choosing whether to keep on studying or work is very personal. So I'm kind of having trouble with that. So it really just kind of depends on what you want to do over the long term. For me, I chose to go ahead and start working right away. I did that more as a financial decision because I had to put. I don't come from a family with money, so I had to put myself through college. My parents did help me out, but it was expensive to stay in college. So for me to be able to get out and work was beneficial. I was also a very skilled developer when I first graduated. I also graduated at the beginning of like the whole .com boom in the late 90s. I'm old, so I graduated a while ago, but I graduated at a really good time for jobs. So for me, not only did I graduate and get a good job, but I also I was able to kind of sustain that because this was like during the .com boom. So for many, many years, it was a very tough proposition to leave a good paying job to go pay $50,000 or whatever for a master's degree, right? And now I know master's degrees are even more than that, right? So, I think Ekra, I think it just depends on you and what your decision, what your finances and your personal decisions are. If we put that aside, a bachelor in data science, and since you do have a math background too, should be more than enough for you to start working at a fairly good data science position, right? The barrier to entry for data science positions is not academic, right? It's a bachelor's degree showing you have some modeling experience, presenting yourself well in interviews, and going from there, right? That's what's going to help you the most. So I don't think that you should never be thinking, oh, well, I can't do it. I'm not ready for that career until I have my master's. That's really not the case. You're ready with a bachelor's. So whether you should do it or not, keep on studying or not, that's really up to you. It kind of depends on what you have going on in your life, what your heart's telling you, what your passion is telling you. I'm just giving you my perspective. It took me a very long time to go back to school because I was kind of in this situation where I had six-figure jobs for a long time and then quit that to go pay a lot more money to get a degree that was maybe not really going to raise my salary a whole lot more. So, again, it's really up to you and your own personal equations. If you want some more follow-up to that, please feel free to add it in the comments. But that's kind of my take on it. But thanks for the question, though, Ekra. It's nice to see people from YouTube participating, and then I can put it up on the screen so that everybody else can see it. And if you're on X, feel free to also participate. Would love to have you. All right, so back to my Instagram. Keten8X writes a very similar question. He writes, I am doing my master's in data science. Should I go for a PhD? Same answer as before. Same answer as what I just gave. That's a personal question. Do I think a PhD is necessary? No, absolutely not. With a master's, and like I said, even with a bachelor's, you can get a very large number of data science jobs. I've never turned down somebody because they don't have a PhD or a master's, right? I want somebody who's coachable, and I want somebody who can explain themselves in a basic technical interview. Um, but should you go for PhD? That's really up to you. Are you in a situation where maybe that PhD is free because you're teaching or because it's subsidized by the government or by the school or whatever? Then yeah, maybe you should go for it. But do I see it as a requirement for working, or is the lack of a PhD going to hold you back from jobs? Not at all. Not at all. Okay. 6 Feet Underground writes, "Thank you so much." I appreciate. No problem. I like helping people out, especially young students. So hope that internship works out for you. All right, Firebrand J. Firebrand J. I remember because you were answering quite a bit in the interview questions. So I think you gave a couple of interesting answers. So good to see you here. Good morning to you. All right, Firebrand J writes, "I have 6 years of gap in IT due to personal reasons, but in the last year I am learning data science. Any advice?" Um, yeah, that's interesting. Um, feel free to answer in a private way or via other methods here. But it kind of depends on your background in IT. What were you doing in IT? Were you more on the hardware side or on the software side? And also, why data science? I'm always curious to know people's motivation for data science. Like, why did you choose to go into it? So, um, if you kind of want to think about those things, I think that's important. In my student series, I recommend the book Mastery by Robert Greene. And I keep on emphasizing that book because I always want to make sure that people are going into data science for the right reasons. So many people are motivated to go into data science because they read the great articles and the salaries and the this and that. Those aren't really great reasons to become a data scientist. Being a data scientist is not all fun and games. It can be very hard at times. And more importantly, you're kind of affecting your own professional reputation if you're not doing something that you really enjoy, really passionate about. So that's where I would start with you. I would want to know why you want to go into data science. Make sure that you're doing it because it's something that you want to do. You're passionate, you're interested, you are going to be motivated for it, because that's ultimately what will make you good, right? You're not going to outcompete somebody on Python, right? Like, if you're walking into an interview saying, "I'm going to get this job because I'm the greatest Python programmer," you've already lost, right? Like, that's not the way to go about it. You want being a data scientist is about your creativity, about your enthusiasm, about the way you see the world, about the way you collaborate, about you being open to other perspectives, right? I mean, that's what makes good data scientists. So that's what I would say to you. I would want to kind of examine your motivations, right? It looks like you had some reasons for stepping away from the work world. Are those reasons still there? Do you maybe want to go back into IT, or maybe do some self-employment things, or whatever you want to do? But that would be my advice to you. I hope that helps. Feel free to communicate in other private ways if it goes deeper than that. But you'll find your way, Jay. It's just a matter of staying after it. Okay, back to my Instagram. Himsteak says, "Thank you so much for the advice." You're welcome. I hope that helps. I'm just speaking with my truths and my experience. I don't know if it helps anybody, but I'm just sharing what I can. Okay, real slim. I love this name, Real Slim Chadi, I believe is how you would say that. Love the name. First, thank you, Dennis, for the amazing content you've been providing. Oh, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. It's really nice of you. I am looking for constant learning in data science. I'm subscribed to many newsletters, YouTube channels, and Postgrad Pro. Good, good. Um, and then as a follow up, you write how to best learn. I think you're right. How to best learn. It says how to beat learn. But I think it's how to best learn. Um, there is nothing stopping you from sitting at home and doing your own models, right? You should be able to sit at home and start working with frameworks and models and data that you choose. I still do that, and that's how I started. Because I had a very strong programming background, but I didn't have the data science credentials. I went back to get applied statistics degree and stuff like that. But when it comes down to it, as far as the work, I sat down and I did it myself. I learned Keras completely on my own because I was interested in neural networks. I had read a really good book on neural networks, and I sat down and I just did it. So really, it just kind of depends on you, and you taking what you've done with your constant learning, the newsletters, the YouTube work, and applying it yourself. And and like I said, I still do it. Just this week, I was looking at some of stuff by of the Prophet framework that's put out by Meta. I'm really curious about time series development, and Prophet is this framework that Meta offers. And I was doing some of my own work just this week. It's not work that I'll share with anybody. I won't do any videos on it. It's just my own exploration. I'm just curious. Sometime maybe down the future I'll use it. Maybe I won't. But that's how you learn, right? You got to stay engaged, and you got to go the next step forward from the videos and into like actually writing code, like writing your own code, right? So that's what I would recommend to you. If you feel like I've got a degree, I took some online courses, I watch a lot of YouTube videos. Great. Now start typing it. Start working with your own frameworks. Pick data and go for it. What can you develop from a particular framework? What can you develop from some data? Start actually getting into the routine of being a data scientist. So that's what I would do in your situation. If that's helpful, please let me know. You're welcome to write in some follow-ups on the Instagram side. I'm happy to help you if I can. Well, I have no idea how many more comments I have on the Instagram side, but I'm going to try to keep going here and try to get to everybody's comments. Okay, Mr. VD Dudat. Hey, sir, I've completed my master in statistical. Can you give me a path to becoming a data scientist? How can I prepare myself for a data scientist post? Excuse me. I would give you a very similar advice to what I just gave to the previous answer to Real Slim Shadi. Start doing the work. If you've gotten to the point where you have the academics, you have all the training down, then great. Start doing something with it. Start actually doing the practice of being a data scientist. There's plenty of free frameworks out there to use. I've already given some. You cannot go wrong learning Keras, because Keras will teach you about that framework, and it'll also teach you about neural networks. You can't go wrong with understanding things like I said, Prophet. Understanding that, understanding PySpark, understanding PyTorch. Start working. Start coming up with your own code. Start putting things together in a way that feels a little bit more professional to you. Don't do it with a tutorial. Just sit there by yourself and say, hey, I could probably find some sports data or some economic data or something else, or even just some images. I know I can use Keras to create a neural network. So how would I create a neural network to do this? And then start coding it, right? I think that's one of the best ways for you to learn and just kind of get into that practice. Or like the previous example I used earlier about I started writing for my own blog when I wanted to make the move. Again, nobody was asking me to do that. I wasn't paid for it. Didn't have a very big audience, but get into the routine of being a data scientist, right? So, it's kind of like that old saying, act as if, right? If you want to be a data scientist, then be a data scientist. Go out and start publishing, go out and start coding. So that's what I would tell you, Mr. VD Dude Hat. Hope that helps. Feel free to send a follow-up, but thanks for being here. Really, really, really glad you joined. Okay, Instagram, keep the questions coming. I see a few more. I promise you, I will not leave until we get everybody's questions. But let's switch over again to our friends in YouTube. I think this question's from. Um, so Lalit Bansal writes, "It was really informative and helpful. Thank you, Dennis." Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you saying that. Also, is there any way you can provide a whole data science roadmap for freshers? I know you've gotten most questions most of the time. Also, I love the idea about writing about it. Good, good, yeah. Yeah. And hey, by the way, guys, if you are watching this stream over on Instagram or on X, do me a favor, go ahead and sign up on my YouTube channel also. That's where I put my long form content. I'm really happy to see some of the YouTube people participating this morning. But please go ahead and give me a follow and a subscribe on YouTube. I'm really trying to see my audience there grow. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on X, please also give me a follow up on YouTube. I really appreciate that. Okay, so coming back to Lalit. Lalit, have you seen my guide for data science students? It's on YouTube, so maybe you already have. Um, you specifically mentioned freshers. So I'm going to assume that means like a first year college student. In the US, we would say freshman. And yes, I do get the question a lot. I hear from a lot of students, so that's why I published the student guide. But if you're in your first year, um, this is what I did. It's not necessarily the best for everybody, but I found it beneficial to not take programming classes in college. I really wasn't a fan of how, and I'm still not a fan of how most programming classes are taught at the academic level. I preferred to be a business major in college, and then I did programming stuff on my own. Now, keep in mind, I went to a technical high school, so I already had a bit of programming behind me. I already had a solid foundation, object-oriented programming, working in a couple languages. So maybe my situation was a little bit different. But if you're in your first year, if you're kind of still early in your college career, consider doing some of the programming stuff on your own, and then learning some of the stuff you can't do on your own in college, right? Like for example, I was a business major. I was an international business major, so I was taking like international banking, international finance, economics, microeconomics, all these classes. I'm not going to teach myself international finance on my own. I'm not going to learn international banking on my own, but I can learn Python on my own, right? So kind of keep that balance if you want to be a data scientist, because you're going to need business courses as a data scientist. Maybe I'll do a video on this sometime. But a lot of being a data scientist is just dealing with stakeholders too, right? And a business degree is going to help you a lot more with that than a computer science degree. So that's something for you to consider, right? Maybe like I said, if you're a freshman, you're still early in your career, don't sign up for every single programming course. Sign up for more business courses, for more marketing courses, finance courses, because those are the things that you can't learn on your own and are still going to help you in your career, no matter which way you choose, right? Because what if you happen to not choose data science as a career? Well, marketing is going to still help you. Marketing will help you in every career, right? Finance will help you in every career, so on and so on. So I know that's not standard advice. It's not the standard learning protocol. It's just what I did. It's just what, excuse me, what I found to be beneficial. But it's just something for you to consider. Okay, but thanks a lot, Lila. Really appreciate the kind words. Really appreciate your subscription on YouTube. But yeah, I hope that answers your question. Sorry about that, folks. I took a trip last week, and I was visiting my family in another city. I was visiting my sister, my niece, my nephew, and also my parents were there. And unfortunately, I caught a little bit of a flu when I was there. That was last week, and only right now I'm kind of getting over it. I was really behind on my filming this week. I finally did some filming yesterday, and I was good enough to do this stream today. But I apologize for that. I'm still just a little bit under the weather. I'm not quite at 100%. Okay, so staying with our friends at YouTube, Priyanka and Kush Short and Videos, is learning C language worth for data science? No. Sorry, it's not. At least not for practical data science. Yes, there are scientists at a very, very high level using C for some things. but those jobs are very few and far in between. For day in, day out, working in data science at the corporate level, C is going to not be very beneficial at all. Nowhere near as beneficial as Python or even R. Um, so yeah, that's a quick one. I hope I'm not deflating anyone's bubble there, but learning C for data science, no, you'd be better off staying with traditional, DevOps or things like that if you want to stay with C. That's probably the more likely path for that. But Priyanka and Kush, thank you so much for the YouTube questions. And Lalit writes, "Thank you. Just saw the DS roadmap now. We'll definitely go through it." Great, great. So it sounds like you hadn't seen it before, but now you did see it. Yeah, I mean, it's a 20-minute video. I put a lot of work into that video, and I just send all my students there, right? And I also have a challenge in that video. If you do that challenge and you come back to me with the code for that challenge, then we can talk a little further. Happy to help you more. But yeah, I mean, I get a lot of questions from students, and I have to send them to that video because it's just too many questions from students, unfortunately. There's more people wanting to learn data science than actually teaching data science, unfortunately. So I'm trying to do my part by putting out that video. I hope it helps you, Lila. Thanks for being here. Okay, back to our friends at Instagram. I really wish I could put the Instagram questions up, but I can't. All right, let me see if I can remember where I left off. Okay, so Kumar writes, "I will be joining a company which builds wrappers around OpenAI. Great. Does that startup will be in the market for more than one, 1 year?" Oh my gosh, I love this question. Oh, I love this question. Oh man, what a great question. I love where your thinking is at, right? Because you're thinking ahead of, oh my gosh, is this company even going to be around? I love it. Oh, what a great question. Um, yeah, that's uh, the reason I love the question also is because what you're asking is part of the joy of working for startups. Because yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk for you as an employee to associate yourself with a startup. You may not have a job, but that's kind of like the fun of it too, right? That's kind of the risk of why you join startups. I've done quite a bit of work with startups. It's been a while since I worked for one because I've been working for larger corporate entities. But yeah, I mean, I would wonder the same things when I was doing a lot of work for cryptocurrency startups back in like 2016, 2017, something like that, maybe even 2015. But I was doing some cryptocurrency startups and other types of startups out there. And, no, I don't know if that company is going to be around in a year. I think OpenAI does have a lot of staying power, but that's part of the gamble with startups. But also part of the upside with startups is that you meet people. You meet people who are doing other startups, or maybe part of your startup breaks off to go do another startup, right? They'll do their own thing, and kind of back and forth, so on and so on, right? So to me, I can't give you a straight answer because I don't know the company. But if the company as it stands today inherently excites you and you want to do something with it, then go for it. That's supposed to be part of the excitement of a startup. Also, another thing I liked about startups is that startups are able they're able to shift quickly, right? They always say that, right? In the ocean, a small ship can move quickly, but a big ship, takes miles to turn, right? And I've worked for those big ships, right? Like when you work at a company like IBM, IBM does not move fast, right? They need miles and miles and miles of ocean to turn, right? The startups are the little speedboats that can turn on a dime, right? So if that appeals to you, then do what you can to protect your finances, take care of your family, of course. But that's part of the gamble that you do with startups. So good luck with that, Kumar. Love the question. Let me know how that turns out for you. Stay in touch. I would love to hear that. But yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you as a data scientist saying, hey, I want to protect my career. I want to make sure I'm employed. But there's an upside to it. That's part of the gamble. So good luck, Kumar. I love the question. All right. Anthony Tazuti. I just graduated with an MIS degree and I had 4 internships within IT. Good for you. What would you recommend in terms of jobs within the data science and analytics field? Um, depends on the internships that you had. You said internships within IT. To me, IT usually implies hardware or networking. So let me know if that's what you actually meant. Maybe these were data science internships. Maybe they weren't. I don't know. But it depends on what you had there. Um, and this kind of reminds me also of what I have in my in my student guide. You are at that perfect intersection that I mentioned in there about how you had the academic background, but it's your first day on the job, so you have to accept that you don't know anything. Period. Data science is a learned craft. It's a learned profession. I equate it to being like a doctor or a lawyer. A doctor or a lawyer on their first day of official work, they don't know a thing, right? If you ever meet a lawyer, ask them about being what they call a trial lawyer, right? And that's a lawyer that actually goes into court and talks in front of a judge. That is a learned craft. You don't do that on your first day, and not every lawyer does that. There's lawyers that go their entire career never going in front of a judge, right? So data science is the same way. You learn it on the job. You learn it from other people. It's almost like it's like a borderline apprenticeship, really. And again, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this because I'm one of the old guys in the business, so I want to help my profession by helping some of the younger people, the newer people, right? So that's what I would tell you that when you're looking for a job, also make sure that you're looking for a strong chief data scientist that you can learn from, because they're the ones that are really going to shape you in terms of, hey, this is how I'm actually using my skills. This is how I'm actually deploying models that the public is using. You haven't done that academically, right? Academically, they don't teach you how to deploy models, how to write a UI, right? So, that's kind of what I would focus on. Finding a job with strong leadership where you're going to learn, where they're going to mentor you. So that's my best advice to you, Anthony. I hope that helps. Any follow-ups, feel free to write them down. Would love to hear more from you. Okay. All right. Sticking with Instagram, it's Sangha Mitra writes, "Thank you so much, Dennis." Oh, you're welcome. I hope it was helpful. Thank you for being here. Thank you to everybody else for being here. I'm seeing a good number of people on X and YouTube, an equal number of people on Instagram. So we have about 30 people watching on all platforms. So really appreciate you guys being here. Loving these questions. Keep them coming. I'm going to do my best to answer everybody. Wow, I can't believe I've been live for 45 minutes now. Really enjoying the questions, so please feel free to keep on going. All right, going back to our friends at YouTube, and I love going back to YouTube because I can put the software makes it easy for me to put the questions on the screen. I can't quite do that with Instagram yet, but hopefully we'll get there. But I will get back to the Instagram questions. Keep those coming, okay? Okay. Ujwal writes, as a fresh grad out of college, what would you recommend to grab a job in tech considering the present state of the market? Same answer I just gave, really. Look for strong leadership that's going to mentor you because they're going to shape you into actually being a data scientist on a practical level. So that's what I would say to you. Look for that strong leadership. Maybe it's not going to be the highest paying job or in an industry that you thought was ideal for you, but look for people that are going to teach you how to take your academic skills and become a data scientist. That's really the best advice I can give you. So I hope that helps, Ujwal. And let's stay with our YouTube friends. Savage Scientist, great name. He writes, good morning, everyone. I am 46 years old. Hey, you know what? I love the fact that you're introducing yourself. If you're in the chat on any of the platforms and you don't have a technical question, or maybe you're new and you're shy about asking technical questions, don't worry about it. Just send me an introduction. Let me know where you are, what part of the world you're listening from. I have subscribers from all parts of the world. So I'm always, and I love traveling the world. I've been to many countries. So I always like hearing about, where people are visiting me from. So, I love the fact that Savage Scientist here is introducing himself. Feel free to do the same, guys. You don't have to ask a question. Just let me know how you're doing, what you got going on for this weekend. What are you doing on this Saturday? And I would love to hear from you. So, Savage Scientist, thanks for being here. Okay, Priyanka and Kush, they're asking a follow-up question here. Is programming kind of relevant to data science? Absolutely it is. Absolutely it's relevant. Data science is just theory and methodology. It's the programming that makes that makes the models and the algorithms fly, right? So yeah, you absolutely, it is important. I know that you previously asked the question about the C programming language. So C is not relevant, but other programming languages are definitely relevant. Again, Python, maybe R. That's what I would stick to working with data science, but absolutely still relevant. And also, one of the things that's really relevant that's helped me is knowing how to deploy models. I had that background because I was in DevOps for many years. Knowing how to actually say, okay, this is my final product. How do I get this to users? How do I get this to the end state? That is super critical, and you'll learn that being a programmer, right? Because you can deploy software. Right? Not all software is data science, right? So having that background absolutely is important. Okay, back to our Instagram side. I really want to get to everybody on Instagram. So many people on Instagram. Okay, It's Sunny writes to us, how to keep myself updated with continuous developments in the AI industry. We are learning ABC, but industry is asking is asking spelling bees. So that's a great way to put that. Great question. Okay. How to keep yourself updated. It's funny that you asked this because I actually have a YouTube coming up about this. And that is how I study white papers. And what I would tell you, Sonny, is it's dangerous to get caught up in keeping up with everything and trying all the new tools and reading all the white papers and all, because you don't want to rush into using something that you don't fully understand. That's super dangerous, right? You want to avoid that as much as possible. So what I would suggest to you is make sure that you're sticking with the tools that the tools that you are confident in using, and then slowly work in new tools. So I talk about this in my video. I'll be releasing it soon. But for me, I use white papers on a macro level and on a micro level. On a macro level, I'm looking for trends and just to kind of see what's emerging. Or in some cases, I'll use it for how are multiple teams, different teams, using the same technology. So like, for example, when LSTM neural networks first came out, people knew they were great, but how do we use them? So reading white papers was really good for that because you could see, oh, this team did this team did this, oh, this other university did this. So just to so it helps you kind of understand the lay of the land, right? The second way I use it to kind of spot little things of creativity that different researchers are doing with the data. Maybe it's not a very interesting paper, but the way they cut up the data was an interesting way, right? So there, I'm looking for little tidbits or little things like, oh, I like the little twist that this researcher did on this project, right? Either way, I'm never just saying, oh, that's a good white paper. Let me code that in my client project. That's bad, right? You take in the white paper, you spend some time with it, you sit with it a little bit, you read a couple things, and then maybe down the road you use it, or you might bring it up in a design meeting, or you introduce it into your champion model search process, things like that, right? But keep up with it from a back level. Have your core skills, have your core methodology, and then the different things you're learning, just kind of take it in, but don't rush. Don't rush to implement things. Just take it in. See, oh, okay, I read about this, and then a month later, oh yeah, that team over there is using that thing I read about. Oh, okay, that's an but then just kind of have your own intake process, a slow intake process for keeping up with those things. So that's the best advice I can give you, Sunny. I hope that helped. Oh my gosh, this name is going to be very hard. I'm sorry. You know what? I hate it when people mispronounce my name. So I hate doing it to other people also, but I'm going to do my best here. Ujwal Reddy Kotla. As a fresh grad just out of college, what would you recommend doing to grab a job in tech in present times? I hope you've heard some of my previous statements. Start doing it. Act as if you're a data scientist. Start publishing, start coding, start coming up with your own projects. Not some tutorials, not I'm going to copy this snippet of code. And you start with your own project. Pick your own data, pick your own project, or your own framework, or your own language, and do it. I really think that's the best way to go about it. So good luck to you. All right, I'm going to stick with Instagram a little bit so I can kind of make some progress here. Mustafa Liaichi. I do remember the reason is I have this passion of math and IT. Hence, my friend told me about this field of data science and my journey started. Good for you. Good for you. If you really feel that you're passionate about the intersection of math and IT, wonderful. Keep going, man. I commend you for that. That's a lot about how I felt too, because I had always been pretty good with numbers and probabilities. I like studying probabilities. So when somebody said that I could do that and still do computer programming, I was like, what? I can do both? Like, that's fantastic, right? And that's how I got started in data science. So yeah, so if you feel like you're passionate about both of those and they kind of intersect in data science, good for you. Keep going. Thanks for being here. Okay, Instagram, Gokul Ramasubu. Hi, Dennis. Gokul from India. Hey, Gokul. Glad to see you here. From India, I published my starting time of 1500 GMT. I think in India, it's maybe like 20 GMT at that same time. So I know I have a couple of viewers from India, so maybe somebody can guide me on that. But I think it's nighttime in India right now, if I remember right. So thank you to all my viewers from India. I know it's late for you guys. Thank you for spending your Saturday night with me. It's my Saturday morning, but I'm happy to spend my Saturday morning with you guys. Really getting some good comments here. So let's keep going. But thanks for being here, Gokul. Mustafa, as someone interested in time series, what do you think about a semester in financial engineering? Financial engineering is obviously a very big field right now. I think there's entire degrees in financial engineering nowadays. But yeah, go for it. I mean, if you feel that you want to get those academic credentials below you, there's nothing. I would never discourage someone from doing it. But if you already have a degree, I don't see it as being a barrier. Like nobody's gonna turn you away and say, "Oh, we would have hired you, except you don't have this one class." People in data science don't really view it that way. So yeah, if you saying, "Hey, this is just part of my academic study," or "I want to take the class for fun," yeah, go for it. Financial engineering classes tend to be very fun, and they tend to involve time series quite a bit. But is it going to be a barrier to you? Is it going to be something that you're going to regret not having on your resume? Probably not. Unlikely to be the case. Again, from Mustafa, what's your X? My X and my Instagram account are the same. DS with Dennis. So D as in data science, DS with Dennis. And on YouTube, I am Data Science with Dennis. So appreciate you guys following me on YouTube. I'm trying to increase my numbers there, but really appreciate all the follows on Instagram and on X. But feel free to also follow me on YouTube, and I'm really happy to see some of the YouTube comments or YouTube members watching. So really happy to see everybody here. Real Slim Chatty writes, it's 1:30 a.m. on my side. Have a good day. Oh my gosh. That is really early. Wow, where are you? I don't think that's India. That's got to be like Australia, maybe? 1:30 a.m.? Because that's only a few hours behind me. So, yeah, so let us know where that actually is, Real Slim Chatty. Okay, going back to our YouTube. Don't want to ignore my YouTube, folks. Um, let me see where I left off. Priyanka in Kush Short Videos once again writes to us, I have recently graduated from high school and I am learning Python these days. Good. Python is an excellent language to learn. Lots of really good resources to learn out there. I think that it'll serve you well when you move forward into data science. So good for you. Python's an excellent choice. And then our friend Savage Scientists say, I would say that for data science, you may want to pay attention to data structures. Maybe. It kind of depends on what you mean by data structures. If you talk to somebody with a computer science degree and you start talking about data structure, you're going to get a whole different answer and it's going to put you to sleep. Most of the computer science folks out there kind of have a different view on data structures and even on algorithms, right? So it kind of depends on what you mean by data structures. If you mean data structures around how you create objects around them and how you work with those objects, yeah, that's helpful. Pandas and data frames solves a lot of that. But I would think about it just more in object-oriented programming. Like, how do you create data objects there, right? How do you manipulate dictionaries? How do you manipulate lists and tuples and iterable objects, right? Or mutable objects, right? Immutable objects. So that's kind of where I would focus more on the data side. But focusing purely on data structures is probably a little bit too theoretical for what most people in data science do. So something to think about. But thanks for the comment there, Savage Scientist. All right, going back to my Instagram. I'm a recent master's graduate. I want to work at happening AI startups being able to sponsor a visa. Unfortunately, I have very little experience with items around visas or whatnot. I did publish a video about where Google is trying to get more AI workers to have visas here in the US. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from the whole H-1B visa structure. And they're trying to put AI workers on what's known as Schedule A. And Schedule A is kind of like a broader view of, hey, these are jobs that are in shortage here in the US and we need more workers for these jobs. So that's where you're going to want to, so if that were to succeed, that's something that would help bring more visas available to the AI industry, right? If they can get on Schedule A to more broadly allow people in that way, it would be a different process than the H-1B visa lottery and things like that, which I think most people are familiar with. So is that going to be successful? Is that not? I don't know. I wish I could speak more intelligently on this, and I can't because I'm not a visa expert. But I hope that helps. Oh. Guys, I'm going to have to put my stream on pause just a little bit. I want to reconnect my Instagram because Instagram cuts you off after an hour. So let me try to fix that, and I'll be right